How y'all doing out there? How y'all doing? It's Frankie Russo pre-show number 82. Got some interesting things to talk to you tonight about before the live show at 1:06 in the morning, from 1 to 2 in the morning at 77 WABC. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I love these pre-shows, man. I'm hanging out. I got my thing. America's Team today. You got to join America's Team and get a t-shirt, okay? RussoNation.tv. Join Russo, join America's Team. Go to RussoNation.tv. Join America's Team and get a t-shirt, okay? You got to do this. You got to do this. Okay, good. It's a crazy week, you know? Unbelievable. I got a few minutes. The lady from the Fed, the chairwoman, stands up and says, "We're not raising interest rates." Really? It's over 55, a long time. I don't know whether it's 55 sessions or something, but it's over like 9, some crazy number, 7 to 9 years of zero interest rates. Some crazy number, you know? And I'm like, really? And then she starts rolling off, well, it's not us, it's not the economy, because the economy's doing great. I'm saying, really? She says 5.1% unemployment. Do you believe that? I don't. We got 90 plus million out of the workforce. Growth? What growth? Last time I checked, I was told we had back to back. There was a point in time in recent history where we had back to back quarters. The GDP was negative, according to all the economists that I read. When you have two back to back quarters of negative GDP, that's a recession. I don't know, but it seems to be like these economic indicators are not real. Economic principles are, I don't know if the basic economic principles, I don't know if they're real. I don't know what's going on over here, quite frankly. Jobs, what jobs? Part-time jobs, yeah. The medium income, in other words, take-home pay has been reduced. So I mean, I don't understand what's going on. I mean, how we have part-time jobs, median income has been reduced, workforce, 90 million workforce, over 50 million on food stamps. I mean, I don't understand how this is a good economy. I don't understand it. She says it with a straight face. She blames the fact that she doesn't go to zero, that she has to stay to zero, on not America's economy, but the economies around us, the global economy. And we have an $18 trillion deficit according to the Treasury Department. So I don't know. I'm not I'm not a financial advisor. I don't I don't do it for a living, make millions of dollars advising others on financial information and what to do. I just follow it, and I listen to people that I believe have some interesting information on this thing. And quite frankly, I was talking to someone after the Fed announcement on yesterday, and my friend was telling me that she actually implied that a zero interest rate is forever conceivably possible. It's unbelievable. You just can't make this stuff up. So there, we got no control over that. So that's my discussion on that. That's why the biggest threat that I feel to our way of life, the great American dream, the American way of life, is just that: the economy, the collapse of the United States dollar, the collapse of this great American economy, the greatness of America, unfortunately, which I believe is right with us. September, October, something's gonna shake. Being that all said, besides that, we got these radical Islamists, and this is what I'm focusing on the rest of this pre-show on. Because from time to time, I do a little thinking. You know what I'm saying? and I came up with this outline. I restructured it again. I restructured this outline again, okay? Just to give you the basics, I'm going to break it down one by one. We got a fraudulent selective service card, Barack Obama. He's really a Muslim from Indonesia. You heard it from Frankie Russo. DT's not wrong. Obama is Barry Soetoro right now, Muslim from Indonesia. DT, Donald Trump's not wrong. And the fact that he, to get in office, he had to become Barack H. Obama, the Christian. Because if he told everybody who he really was, I don't think he believed he would have gotten elected, quite frankly. So with a fraudulent selective service card, no pushback. They want us to go with this. They want us to talk about this Fugazi fake birth certificate, and they call us a birther. Senate Resolution 511, John McCain hearing. John McCain was born on a Panama military base. The senators got together, they drafted a resolution, and they made John McCain eligible, and they put meat in there in that resolution to add to the eligibility question that Obama had. Because his birth certificate is so fake, it's crazy. And everybody talks about it. You're a birther. Sheriff Joe and the Cole Posse did investigations on the birth certificate and investigations on this fraudulent selective service card. They want us to talk about the birth certificate. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about his fraudulent selective service card. Federal law, he's not eligible, can't serve in the executive branch of the United States government if you have a fraudulent selective service card, so he's an illegal president. He worked out a memorandum of understanding with the Clinton Foundation. In December 2008, Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State, while Bill Clinton, former president, toured the world, garnering numerous consulting fees in the millions, taking bribes, taking money on behalf of, as the president emeritus in his Winnebago, as his wife, Hillary Clinton, sat in Secretary of State's office, taking bribes from like Sweden and other parts of Europe to go around the sanctions that were placed on Iran, because a lot of the European countries throughout the world still want to do business with Iran, even though Iran is a world state sponsor of terror. Crazy stuff, right? So here's where everything for me. Now, I changed this model. I got Obama. Here's the question I have. I'm going to start with the question. Yeah, let's start with the question. Okay? Because I got the global terror network, which is headed by Iran, and the Iranian surrogates. Let me go through the Iranian surrogates. Okay? Man, this stuff is good. Iranian surrogates. One, Iranian Revolutionary Guard. The Quds Force, headed by General Soleimani. Afghan, Taliban, Iran connection. They've defied the general consensus that the Sunni Shiite divide doesn't exist. They've totally went through that, because you got the Afghan Taliban, you got the Al Qaeda Iran connection, Hezbollah Iran connection, and Hamas Iran connection. All proven in the 9/11 case. We talked about that last week. Then I got CAIR, Council of American Islamic Relations. I got ISNA, Islamic Society in North America. I got the ASA Corporation, Alevi Foundation, and Bank Rep Melli of Iran, deemed by Judge Catherine Forrest of the Southern District, in conjunction with Preet Bharara's complaint filed against 650 Fifth Avenue, which is owned by the Iranian mullahs. These three Islamic Front organizations are part of a terrorist network that's funneling money from the 650 Fifth Avenue building all the way to Tehran, Iran. And then we got Mohammed Zarif, who's part of the Iranian surrogates. He's the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran. He was he was in the he was the Iranian ambassador to the UN in 2002, 2007, around that time, and that was that time too where he served as an executive director of the Alevi Foundation. According to the Weekly Standard, he's knee deep in all that money laundering and all that covering up the Iranian mullahs over there at 650 Fifth Avenue. Okay, so that's where we are with the Obama administration, Clinton Foundation, Iranian Global Terror Network, and the Iranian surrogates. Now, the question I have, when are the transactions that we've been talking about, the timeline with the Obama administration, that's what I mean about transactions. When are these transactions are no longer viewed as authorized waivers for national security and humanitarian aid? When? In other words, but rather, when do they become the transactions, the Obama timeline, which I'm going to go over right now, but when do they become the Al Mawad case? A Yemen sheikh was charged by criminal complaints in the Eastern District of New York with violating Title 18 U.S. Code Section 2339B, which prohibits anyone from knowingly providing or conspiring to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization designated by the State Department. The Al-Mawad complaint, which was deemed, he was found guilty of providing material support to Al-Qaeda, which was first designated as a FTO, a foreign terrorist organization, in October 1999, and Hamas, which was designated a foreign terrorist organization in October 1997. So when does Obama's transaction, which I'm going to go over right now, first one, we talk about it every week, Blind Sheikh's Mosque. 1993 World Trade Center bombing was affiliated with the Blind Sheikh's Mosque through the Alevi Foundation, giving money to the Clinton Foundation, $105,000, and over $1.4 million to the Blind Sheikh's Mosque through the Alevi Foundation, which was deemed by court papers and the judge's decision to be Iran. The 9/11 World Trade Center case, we talked about that last week. The Holy Land Foundation trial, Hamas financing the biggest money laundering scheme for terror in the nation's history. Iran's involved with that. They gave money to the Blind Sheikh. The Blind Sheikh was involved in Muhammad al-Nudi, the Holy Land Foundation, and Musa Abu Marzouk, number 2 in Hamas. And then we got the 650 Fifth Avenue case, which is not only money laundering, but property is involved. The United States government seized the 650 Fifth Avenue building and the 4 mosques that were owned by this Alevi Foundation, Asset Corporation, and Bank Melli of Iran. And then it was forfeited through the case, the judge's decision by Catherine Forrest. And the Iranian mullahs went so far into 2014 to appeal this case. But the higher courts ruled in favor of the United States government. So we own that property. And they're supposedly the proceeds of the sale of the property is supposed to go to the victims of the unfortunate terrorist attack on September 11, 2001, the World Trade Center, and also the families of the the Marines, the families of the victims of the Beirut bombing, of the over 240 Marines that were killed, their families, the unfortunate killings of our armed forces, armed men, the men and women of the armed forces of the United States Marine Corps. So that's what my understanding of the 650 50th Avenue case. That was supposed to be the outcome. Now, so here's an instance where Obama turns a blind eye. The President of the United States works out a deal with the Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation takes $105,000 from the Levy Foundation, which has also, which as we know, owns 650 Fifth Avenue, has an interest, has ownership in the 650 Fifth Avenue building, which is owned by the mullahs, Iranian mullahs. In addition, they gave over $1.4 million to the Blind Sheikh's Mosque. And this is all of the various unfortunate, hideous things, horrific things that happened with the Blind Sheikh and the Blind Sheikh's Mosque. Okay? And what, in addition to the bombings and the plot to bomb, killing of thousands of Americans, horrific, unconscionable. In addition, we got illegal money transmitting, we got money laundering, as we spoke about, all for terror. Now the question is this a pattern? I believe it is. There's a pattern here. Okay? That's one. The next one, it appears that our president has done a Bergdahl trade before, a 5-for-1 trade. He did with Bergdahl, according to Donald Trump. According to counterextremism.com, the threat of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps report, it's a PDF online. In January of 2007, United States forces detained 5 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Quds Force members. They were leaders during a raid of the Iranian government's liaison office in Erbil, Iraq, for conspiring with Iraqi militants to attack United States forces. According to the State Department at the time, I'm paraphrasing, State Department officials said we had to detain these 5 Quds Force leaders because we were concerned about the threats they would pose to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces over there in Iraq. So our people, our American men and women fighting for our freedom, are fighting a fight over in Iraq. And in 2007, which was under W, they detained these 5 Quds Force leaders. My question, what do you think Obama did? A year and a half later, he released them mysteriously. I'm telling you, he released them. He put them back in the field. So according to this Title 18 section, U.S. Code section 2339B, it's also prohibited anyone from knowingly providing or conspiring to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization. You can't throw, it's against the law, it's against the statute. It's prohibited to throw them back, the human assets back there. These are human assets. These are 5 Quds Force leaders. These people are dangerous. And we spoke about last week what the Quds Force is all about. This is the special forces. This is like the KGB, the CIA of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. These are high-level people. Okay? So keep that under your hat. All right? Hold that one. So we did that. So in 2009, More recently, we got the Bergdahl trade of 5-for-1. We have 5 Afghan Taliban and we're Al Qaeda, the whole thing. These are supposed to be high level operatives in the global terror network. 5-for-1. The one was a traitor, a deserter, whatever you want to call him. Released. They were released. Where were they released? I remember when Obama made this announcement, he had the mother and father of Bergdahl there. And he said they released them where? Try to remember. Remember now. Try to remember. While you're trying to remember, I just want everybody to think about this. I'm not saying I got a letter. Well, Obama did write a letter to the Ayatollah, right? About introducing himself. I'm going to look for that letter. I haven't found it yet. I got to look for it. But I know he wrote the Ayatollah letter. I don't know whether he was in the United States Senate or something like that. But he wrote the Ayatollah letter. But I don't have a letter from Obama to like these radicalism is saying that he's gonna, work together or anything like that. So I don't have anything like that. But what I do have is data. And I look for trends. I believe statistically significant data. I look for trends. I look for things where I can see patterns. And I believe there's a pattern here. There's a pattern. Okay. So does anybody remember where Obama said he was going to send the 5 Afghan Taliban, the Al Qaeda leaders, the operatives that were in Gitmo? Where did he release them? I want everybody to think. Okay. In February of 2015, the Washington Free Beacon, I love this publication, by the way. They lean to the right. I'm not saying they don't, but they have facts in their data that they write. And this Adam Credo is interesting. He writes some interesting stuff. Congress to the Obama administration. U.S. billions, United States billions of dollars are enabling terror regimes in Qatar. Qatar funding, providing refuge to terror groups and allies. Congress is I'm reading the article. Congress is warning that billions of dollars in the United States arms sales to Qatar could be enabling the Arab country's support for leading terrorist organizations and allies, according to a letter from, I got to get the letter, I don't have it yet, Republican Congressman Doug Lomborn from Colorado, member of the House Armed Services Committee. Qatar, long one of America's top Arab military allies in the Middle East, really has been funding and providing refuge to an increasing number of terrorist groups in recent allies too, they're saying, in recent years, including most recently the Islamic State, ISIS. United States sends billions of dollars in arms to Qatar to keep it as a strategic regional ally. Congress's concern about Qatar's support for the terror group comes ahead of a high-profile meeting between the country's ruling leader, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad, and he is supposedly a terror financer. There's some data to support that, and I'm going to bring that in next week. The letter, which is being circulated by Rep. Doug Lamborn, a member of the House Armed Services Committee, calls out Qatar for being the world's safe haven for terrorist groups and militia leaders. It urges U.S. officials to reassess and reevaluate America's multi-billion-dollar military alliance with the country, The sharp focus on Qatar, a key military ally that receives billions in arms from the United States, come as the country faces increased scrutiny over an uptick support for radical jihadist groups plotting against the West. The lawmakers say in the House, the Congress, the billions in U.S. assistance to Qatar could be enabling terror regimes there to thrive. Crazy stuff. We sent those five Taliban for Bergdorf. We sent them to Qatar. Do you see a pattern here? Do you see a pattern? When does this not become presidential fiat? I think we're getting close to that. Two authorization waivers for national security. This is transaction number 4 by Obama. Two authorization waivers for national security and humanitarian aid sent all the way to the Palestinian Authority government, Hamas. Let me get that letter. 88 senators. I'm getting that letter. I don't have it here. I'm going to get it. 88 senators, 88 U.S. senators. Here it is. 88 U.S. senators. Now, Obama, understand there's federal statutes that obviously the President of the United States, even though he's illegal, I believe he's illegal, the President of the United States has to follow in order to conduct policy. We can't send money from the United States taxpayers to a terrorist entity out in the Gaza, Hamas, the Palestinian Authority government. Hamas, which went into a cooperative agreement with the Palestinian Authority government, we can't send them money unless the president authorizes the waiver. And he has an authorized waiver, right, under national security, under humanitarian aid, and sends the money to the Palestinian Authority government, which is really Hamas. He didn't do it just once. He did it a few times. So my question is, when do these activities not become just that? Quite frankly. Now, according to the letter from 88 senators, right? 88 senators. Just to give you an idea. We are gravely according to this is from 88 United States senators. June 11, 2014, after the president's been lobbying and pushing, utilizing the authorization waiver to send the money out to the Palestinian Authority government. All right. Unfortunately, the recent formation of a Palestinian Authority unity government supported by Hamas, a designated foreign terrorist organization that has never publicly accepted the principles, I'm paraphrasing, the principles of peace. We are gravely concerned that the formation of this government and President Abbas' renewed effort to upgrade the status of the Palestinians within international organizations will jeopardize direct negotiations with Israel to achieve a two-state solution. By its actions and inactions, Hamas has demonstrated it is not a partner for peace. Hamas has openly called for Israel's destruction, and last month, in June 11, so it'll be June 214, May 214, Hamas leaders again repeated their refusal to meet recognized international demands, the recognition of Israel, renunciation of terror, and acceptance of previous Israel PLO agreements. Now, the letter goes on to say, basically, how do we know if we're going to send this money to the Palestinian Authority government? How do we know they're not going to take this money and use it for terror? How do we know? Mr. President, Mr. Illegal President, Mr. Fraud President. How do we know? Yet, he sends the money. Hillary Clinton's behind it. John Kerry's behind it. All these adopted foreign nationals, and quite frankly, Obama is a foreign national, Muslim from Indonesia. He became Barack Obama, the Christian, to become president. We know this. So the real what makes this even more over the top, and then I'm going to go to the last one, and then I'm going to close out. I got to get ready for the live show. We'll talk about more about this next week. But what really makes this a real kicker now, okay, is not only is Obama authorizing the waiver under national security and humanitarian aid, not more than one time, and the letter from the United States senators, 88 of them, 44 Republican, 44 Democrat. But what's really crazy is a question. Obama's sending this money, waiving the federal statute so it's legal, because he's the president, right? I guess presidential fiat or whatever. Now, what's really crazy is Washington Free Beacon came out with an article recently claiming that Iran is sending tens of millions of dollars to Hamas. In addition, the Washington Free Beacon came out with an article claiming that Iran is sending rockets to Hamas. So they are an Iranian surrogate, right? So basically, Obama is sending money to an Iranian surrogate. We could conceivably say with much statistical significance that he's sending money to Iran. So is he helping Iran to become independent and help them get around the sanctions that have been imposed upon them? Interesting stuff. I believe it's statistically significant that this is Obama's way of helping Iran get around the sanctions under the guise of authorization waiver, national security, under the authorization waiver, humanitarian aid. Oh, I'm going to send aid out to Palestine, the Palestinian Authority government with Hamas. That's Iran. That's Iran. Crazy. Now, this last one is Benghazi. Okay? The Benghazi cover-up. This is the Waterloo for the Obama administration. This is one of the Waterloos right here. So we got a pattern. I believe this is a pattern. I'm going to finish with Benghazi, talk about the pattern, and then we're going to talk more next week. Benghazi. No, it's not a video. They knew 10 days. I don't know all the facts, but this is what I know, which I believe is statistically significant. Okay? We know, where is that thing? It's right here. It is. Okay. We know that they knew 10 days ahead of time that a terrorist attack was coming. We know this. Right? Obama came out with it. They all came out with it, right? Susan Rice, Hillary Clinton. It was a video. Well, we know that's a lie. Oh, wait. It's Hamas. Really? Is it? Well, we know that there is a Hamas Iran connection, right? But what's really going on over here? You know? What's really going on? What is really, really going on? What do you think? They know 10 days ahead of time that a terrorist attack is coming. It happens, we lose 4 Americans. We lose an ambassador and 3 Americans. for the grace of God. Horrific. First they say it's a video, right? First they say it's a video. Then it comes out it's Al Qaeda. According to, now, based on all the data that I've been putting out on this pre-show, there's a gentleman named Kenneth Tillman. He wrote a book called Dark Forces, The Truth Behind Benghazi. Now, I'm going to give you the pre, and then I'm going to read exactly what he said. And he's according to the Washington Free Beacon and the Congressional Research Service, Iran sends the Syria, the Assad regime, $3.5 to $15 billion annually. According to Kenneth Tillman, they send the Assad regime $6 billion. Why? Obviously, Syria is a front for Iran. They're sending them a lot of dough. Like I believe Hamas is a front for Iran. According to Kenneth Tillman, now understand, there was a rumor about these air surface missiles that became missing or whatever during the Fugazi liberation of Libya. So it's my understanding that General Soleimani got wind of this, that the Americans were arming these Syrian rebels to attack Assad. And this is where we are. Libya, Benghazi. Soleimani's Quds Force provided money and support to Ansar al-Sharia, terrorist group, for its attack on the Benghazi consulate and the killing of American ambassador Christopher Stevens. They killed 4 Americans. So for whatever reason, to show that they're the influence, to show that they're the OG gangsters of the region, whenever America is there, the Quds Force with General Soleimani's right there to show the Middle East, the region, the world, that they have the influence, that they're the OGs, that they're the power in the region. So that's the other cover-up, which I believe is the Waterloo of this entire administration. One of the Waterloos, the economy and this Benghazi. So I end with Benghazi cover-up. So I believe, is there a pattern? Yes, there is. And I'm going to leave on that note that there's a pattern, and when does this pattern become not an authorization waiver on national security, waiving the federal statutes which prohibit these monetary transactions with terrorist entities under the guise of national security and or humanitarian aid? Instead, it becomes Mohammed al-Mawad, Yemen Sheikh, who was part of this, according to the Kelly Moore article, which was in the, she was over 10 years a district attorney of the Southern, she was a assistant district attorney. She wrote this article with the Lewis and Clark Law Journal about pre 9/11 and post 9/11, the investigations and how the comparing the investigations, the FBI investigations pre 9/11 and post 9/11, and trying to compare them and see if there's any, what the differences are and how we can make them better or whatever, right? She claims that in this article, Kelly Moore article, that there was this, there was this illegal money transmitting at the time in the late 90s, early 2000s in and around the Blind Cheeks Mosque in Brooklyn. And they got the Irani ring, which was busted by an FBI informant from the Blind Cheeks Mosque, got this, he made contact with the Irani ring, which came out of the Irani ring the owner of that ice cream parlor that owned 21 million, that had $21 million in his bank account. The FBI was like, what? $21 million in his bank account with this Flatbush Avenue and Atlantic Avenue small little ice cream parlor. 10 feeder accounts put into this ice cream parlor bank account in Brooklyn, $21 million, and they found out that it was he sent the money out to 16 countries throughout the world, all supporting terror in 16 different countries. That owner of that ice cream parlor, wait, right, okay, this is what happened. That owner of that ice cream parlor became known because what happened. Okay, now I got it. Now I remember. I remember the Iranian FBI informant went out to Yemen because he had made contact with the FBI through the blind sheiks, informant with the FBI. He was involved in illegal money transmitting. He became he went he helped the FBI with this Al-Rani ring, which is illegal money transmitting, and out of that came this Al-Rani informant, which went out to the Yemen sheik. Now I got it. I remember. Went out to the Yemen sheik, and they met him like 3 times. The first time he met with him, they talked about it. He sent them out again about the blind sheik's mosque. They talked about out in Yemen this Muhammad al-Muwad one time. Then he went out again and he actually gave them names on who's sending him the money from the blind sheik's mosque and other mosques affiliated with the blind sheik, which makes it all in the purview. And it came out that the owner of the ice cream parlor on Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn had $21 million, and that's how the FBI went and busted them through this Mohammed al Mawad connection going out to Yemen. So just to give you a little background. So that's how this all came about. So Mohammed al Mawad was charged by criminal complaints in the Eastern District of New York and violating 18 United States Code Section 2339B, which prohibits anyone from knowingly providing or conspiring to provide material support to put human assets back in the field to a foreign terrorist organization designated by the State Department. The Al-Mawad complaint, which eventually he was found guilty by a federal trial, that he provided material support to Al-Qaeda, which is first designated as FTO, Foreign Terrorist Organization, October 99, and Hamas, which is designated Foreign Terrorist Organization in 97, October. So this whole thing, when does this bomber and these transactions, this pattern of either with the blind sheik's mosque, a blind eye, releasing human assets back into the field, the 5 Quds Force leaders, releasing human assets, the terrorists back into the field, the Bergdahl trade, putting Americans at danger, men and women of the United States Armed Forces in danger in both those instances, and then the authorization waivers, numerous waivers, more than one, to Hamas, Palestinian Authority government, going around the United States senators, 88, they sent the letter, 88 senators. And then we find out that it's the Iranian surrogate. Crazy stuff. And then the Benghazi cover-up. The Quds Force, Iran was the ones that killed the unfortunate killing of the 4 Americans at Benghazi. This is a pattern. So when does this not become authorization waivers, presidential fiat? He's acting as the president. He's a diplomat. He's trying to improve Muslim relations, which we know it ain't the case. When does this change? That's what we're going to talk about next week. Remember, see you in a half hour. America's Team.today. Join America's Team and get a t-shirt. RussoNation.tv. Go there. Join America's Team and get a t-shirt. Join America's Team and get a t-shirt. This is the Frankie Russo pre-show. See you in about a half hour live here at 77 WABC. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Good. I just want to make sure. Let me make sure this thing is working. I think it is.